But let's begin. The stillness of the night felt suffocatingly thick, almost tangible, wrapping itself around me like an unwanted lover's embrace. It was past midnight, but rest had long deserted me. Sleep eluded my grasp, leaving my eyes wide open, staring up into the endless darkness above. The quiet was pierced suddenly by the muted vibration of a phone, the faint buzzing against the wooden nightstand causing my heart to stutter into an erratic rhythm. Curiosity became suspicion, raw, unfiltered suspicion. I looked to my side of the bed. Kayla wasn't there. The sheets beside me lay untouched, devoid of her familiar warmth. The sound of running water from our ensuite bathroom reminded me she was close, yet impossibly distant. My pulse quickened. I reached for her phone on instinct, hesitating briefly, my fingers hovering inches above the device as it pulsed softly against the wood. Kayla never left her phone unattended, always protective, always careful. But tonight, in a rare lapse, she'd let her guard down. I picked it up, felt its cool weight in my hands, and turned it over. The screen illuminated, blazing harshly against the darkness, illuminating words that tore through my heart like sharpened blades. I can't stop thinking about last night. My body still feels you. When can I see you again? My heartbeat accelerated into painful chaos, shock swiftly replaced by a deeper ache, betrayal. Kayla, my wife, my partner of 6 years, had crossed the ultimate line. A second message flashed across the screen, merciless in its clarity. Don't ghost me now, babe. I need you. My grip on the phone tightened until my knuckles whitened painfully. The room around me seemed to spin, reality fracturing into something twisted, unrecognizable. My mind struggled to process the blatant intimacy, the audacity of this betrayal, and the lies Kayla had expertly woven. Kayla had always kept her phone close, guarding it with practiced devotion. Now, I realized exactly why. The shower suddenly stopped, replaced by a silence heavy with dread. Each droplet echoing against the tiles felt like an accusation, a reminder of how Kayla was casually rinsing another man's touch from her skin, preparing to lie next to me again, as if nothing had changed. But everything had changed. I stood motionless, the phone still burning in my hand. The bathroom door opened slowly, and Kayla emerged, wrapped in a towel, steam curling around her like wisps of smoke. She froze mid-step, her eyes landing on the glowing screen, illuminating my face. The casual ease in her expression vanished instantly, replaced by shock, panic, and finally, anger. What are you doing with my phone, Adrian? Her voice quivered, a thin veil of bravado covering the fear that flickered behind her eyes. Who is he? I asked, my voice cold and precise. The words cut through the thick silence. Her composure faltered momentarily before she straightened, lifting her chin defiantly. That's none of your business. Give me my phone. I felt a bitter laugh rise, erupting in a harsh, humorless sound. None of my business? Kayla, you're my wife. You're my business. Tell me his name. Her expression shifted, eyes darkening in resentment. Stop overreacting, Ryan. You're always so dramatic. Dramatic. I echoed, incredulously. You've been lying to me for months, Kayla. Months. And you think I'm being dramatic? Her eyes hardened, the softness I'd once loved vanishing completely. You were barely here, always traveling, always focused on work. What did you expect me to do? My throat tightened, anger coiling painfully in my chest. I expected you to respect our marriage, our home, me. Her lips twisted bitterly, eyes narrowing. You didn't even notice me. Logan did. Logan. A name, finally, a faceless rival given identity. A surge of nausea twisted in my stomach, jealousy mingling with rage. Logan. I repeated slowly, tasting the name bitterly. Who is he? She sighed impatiently, flicking damp hair over her shoulder, as if my questions were exhausting inconveniences. It doesn't matter. It does to me. I growled, stepping closer. She instinctively backed away, her back meeting the cool surface of the wall. How long has this been going on, Kayla? Weeks? Months? She hesitated, eyes flickering with uncertainty. Why does it matter now, Alex? You're never home. Anyway, you barely noticed I existed. Her words struck deep, igniting an ache I couldn't describe. Was this my fault? Had my ambition and drive for success pushed her away, creating the space for another man to enter our lives? I refused to believe it. Don't blame me for your choices, I snapped, voice shaking with barely controlled rage. You brought him into our home, our bed. Did you think about me even once? Kayla stared at me, her expression unreadable, silence heavy and accusing. For the briefest second, vulnerability flickered behind her eyes, but it was quickly replaced by defensive pride. At least he paid attention to me, she whispered bitterly. He made me feel alive again. The words struck deep, confirming what I'd feared most. She hadn't just been unfaithful, she'd emotionally replaced me. My heart clenched painfully at the realization, but I refused to let her see my anguish. Fine, I said, turning sharply away. I moved swiftly toward our bedroom, gathering her belongings and tossing them carelessly into a suitcase. My movements were precise, deliberate, a reflection of the rage simmering beneath my calm exterior. What do you think you're doing? She shouted, suddenly realizing the severity of the situation. You've already made your choice, I replied icily. Now you can live with it somewhere else. Her eyes widened, realization settling over her features. Damon, you can't. I already have, I said evenly, shoving the bag toward her. Leave. Now. She hesitated, uncertainty flickering in her eyes. For a brief moment, the confident, defiant woman was replaced by someone lost, uncertain. Please, she whispered softly, vulnerability coloring her voice. Can't we talk about this? I shook my head, unwavering. There's nothing left to talk about. She paused, eyes scanning my face desperately for any sign of weakness. Finding none, she finally sighed in defeat. You'll regret this, Damon, she warned softly, grabbing the bag and turning sharply toward the door. No, I replied coldly, holding her gaze with unflinching certainty. You will. With a final, venomous glance, Kayla disappeared into the darkness outside, leaving me alone in our home, empty, shattered, yet strangely calm. The woman I'd loved fiercely was gone, replaced by an enemy whose recklessness had awoken something ruthless within me. I stood there for several moments, absorbing the heavy silence, knowing that this wasn't the end, it was only the beginning. Revenge wasn't my natural inclination, but betrayal had transformed me into someone willing to destroy in order to survive. Kayla believed she had wounded me, left me broken and defeated. But she had made one critical error. She'd forgotten who she married. I was meticulous, determined, and ruthless when pushed too far. Slowly, a cold smile formed on my lips. Kayla had drawn first blood, but I would deliver the final blow. If she wanted war, she'd have it. My revenge would not be loud or reckless. It would be quiet, precise, and devastating. The kind of vengeance that wouldn't just break her, it would dismantle every illusion she'd built, leaving her with nothing. She'd chosen betrayal. I would choose retribution. And when I was done, Kayla would finally understand the true cost of deception. My world shifted violently after Kayla's departure. I thought solitude would grant clarity, yet isolation only sharpened my pain into something dangerously volatile. Night after night, her betrayal replayed vividly in my mind, a relentless torment. Each moment alone in our empty house was a reminder of my failure, how easily I'd been fooled, how effortlessly she'd broken every promise we'd ever made. Despite my resolve, moving forward felt impossible. Nights became unbearable, sleepless marathons of doubt and bitterness. Memories of Kayla's deception haunted me, especially the cruel intimacy of those messages, the casual way Logan had claimed her, reducing me to an afterthought. Every morning, I woke exhausted, haunted by nightmares filled with their whispered secrets, visions of their betrayal replaying in vivid, torturous detail. Yet within that darkness, a fierce determination sparked. Kayla would pay. She believed she'd escaped cleanly, unscathed. She'd underestimated me, underestimated how ruthless a wounded heart could become. While she settled comfortably into a new routine, oblivious and unbothered, I meticulously crafted my revenge. My daily routine shifted dramatically. Every action became deliberate, purposeful. I began to follow Kayla discreetly, documenting her interactions with Logan, collecting every piece of incriminating evidence I could find. Pictures, videos, timestamps. I amassed an arsenal of proof that painted an undeniable picture of deceit and betrayal. The bitterness fueled me, drove me to become someone I hardly recognized. I hired a private investigator, directing him to dig deeper into Logan's life. I discovered Logan's background quickly. He was younger, charismatic, and wealthy, an ambitious businessman who thrived on conquests. Kayla was merely another trophy to him, a detail that twisted my insides with both disgust and cruel satisfaction. Soon, I had more than enough ammunition, but it wasn't enough to destroy their romance. I needed to dismantle Kayla's entire illusion of security. I wanted her to feel the same helpless humiliation I'd experienced. One afternoon, during my surveillance, I watched them laughing together outside a trendy cafe. Logan held her waist possessively, whispering into her ear, making her laugh in a way she'd never laughed with me. Jealousy surged like acid through my veins, but I kept my focus razor sharp. My phone buzzed. It was a message from my lawyer, confirming that all the legal steps were complete. Now it was time to strike. I chose a simple yet devastating first move. Early one morning, Logan received a carefully compiled digital package containing explicit evidence of Kayla's double life. Their passionate exchanges, our marriage certificate, and even screenshots of her deceiving him. Within hours, the message had its intended effect. Kayla's panic call started soon afterward, frantic and desperate, but I ignored them. This was only the beginning. When she appeared at my doorstep hours later, eyes blazing with rage, I calmly opened the door, leaning casually against the frame. "You bastard," she hissed, pushing past me aggressively. "How dare you?" I chuckled darkly, closing the door behind her. "How dare I? You must be joking." Kayla spun around, fists clenched, eyes shimmering with angry tears. "You ruined everything. Logan won't even speak to me. You lied to him," I said coldly, folding my arms calmly. "Did you think he'd appreciate finding out he was your dirty little secret?" She trembled, visibly shaken but defiant. "I was happy with him, happier than I ever was with you." My jaw tightened, but I refused to let her see the wound her words opened. "You were happy living a lie, you mean? At least he saw me," she shouted, voice trembling. "You never noticed me. You took me for granted, Damon. You chose to betray me," I growled, stepping closer, anger simmering beneath my composed facade. "I trusted you, Kayla. You destroyed everything." Her voice softened, eyes shimmering with a rare vulnerability. "And you think you fixed anything by humiliating me?" I smiled bitterly. "No, but it's a good start." Kayla's eyes narrowed dangerously. "If you think this ends here, you're wrong. Logan isn't the type to just accept this quietly." I shrugged dismissively. "Let him come." She stared at me a moment longer, a blend of fury and disbelief etched onto her face. Finally, she turned away sharply, storming out as abruptly as she had entered. Yet her threat lingered heavily in the air, even after the door slammed shut. My phone buzzed again almost immediately. Logan. His message was short and direct. "We need to talk." I smiled bitterly, expecting nothing less. An hour later, Logan sat across from me at a quiet cafe, tension radiating from him. He was younger than I'd expected, handsome in an arrogant way, but his eyes held unmistakable anger. "Let's get straight to the point," Logan began sharply. "You've ruined my life. You ruined your own life by trusting her." I replied coldly, sipping my coffee calmly. "Did she even tell you she was married?" Logan's expression darkened. "No. She said she'd left someone who didn't appreciate her." I laughed humorlessly. "Convenient lie." Logan clenched his jaw, his voice strained. "I genuinely cared for her. She played us both." "Did she?" I challenged. Or did you simply not care enough to notice?" His eyes flashed defensively. "Look, Damon, I'm not your enemy. Kayla lied, fine. But destroying each other isn't the answer. We should confront her together." A dry smile curved my lips. I already confronted her. She didn't care. Logan sighed deeply, frustration evident. "Then let's hit her where it hurts most." Intrigued, I leaned forward. "Go on." Logan hesitated, as if unsure how far to go, then finally admitted. "Kayla was pushing me to leave my fiancé. She wanted full control, my time, my finances. She doesn't just want love, Damon. She wants power. The revelation stunned me briefly. Logan had been her escape, but Kayla's real goal had been manipulation, dominance. She wasn't a victim of neglect. She was a calculated predator. What are you suggesting? I asked, my voice coldly interested. Logan leaned forward, lowering his voice. She'll try to find another target soon. Someone wealthier, more powerful. I propose we cut her off completely. Publicly. I tilted my head, intrigued. And your fiancé? Logan sighed bitterly. She already knows. Kayla destroyed that too. My pulse quickened, a sense of righteous vengeance building within me. Kayla hadn't simply betrayed me. She disrupted multiple lives without remorse, pursuing her desires without consequence. Logan was right. She craved power, thrived on manipulation, and now it was time to take it all away. Fine, I agreed coldly. We'll expose her, together. Within days, our plan was set. Logan would publicly confront Kayla at a gala hosted by her company. I would ensure every key player attended. Colleagues, friends, family. She had humiliated us privately. It was fitting to destroy her publicly. On the night of the gala, the ballroom glittered with elegance and power. Kayla stood radiant at the center, charm effortlessly masking the darkness beneath. When Logan took the stage, the room hushed expectantly. Ladies and gentlemen, Logan's voice carried clearly, silencing the murmurs. Tonight, I'd like to share something important. Kayla paled visibly, eyes flickering nervously around the room. I stood near the back, savoring every second of her discomfort. Logan continued calmly, his voice clear. Kayla Jennings has deceived us all. She's lied about her past, her relationships, and manipulated everyone close to her, including me. Gasps rippled through the crowd, heads turning sharply toward Kayla. Her cheeks flushed deep crimson, eyes wide with panic. Logan's fiancée stepped forward then, poised but trembling with emotion. She destroyed our engagement, knowingly, willingly. Kayla pretended to be my friend while sleeping with Logan. And worse, she deceived her own husband. Every eye shifted toward Kayla, judgmental whispers growing louder. Her carefully curated image shattered instantly. Her desperate gaze landed on me, pleading silently for mercy, but I felt none. As Logan finished speaking, the murmurs rose to open disgust. Kayla turned sharply, fleeing the room amidst scandalized stares and mocking laughter. She had humiliated and betrayed us, but now, finally, the world knew exactly who she was. Yet, as I watched her retreat, something felt incomplete. Revenge tasted sweet, yet left a bitter aftertaste. I realized suddenly that destroying Kayla's life had not healed mine. But then again, revenge was rarely about healing. This was merely the beginning. Kayla would learn what it truly meant to be utterly alone, exactly as she'd left me. After the public humiliation, Kayla's downfall was swift and relentless. Her reputation, once pristine, lay shattered at her feet. Colleagues distanced themselves quickly, friendships crumbled, and her position at the company unraveled overnight. I observed it all from afar, feeling a twisted satisfaction mixed with a hollowness that gnawed at my soul. Her once perfect world was collapsing, just as mine had, and yet, strangely, I felt no true victory. Instead, a bitter emptiness lingered. Days passed, and my routines resumed a hollow rhythm. I returned to work, burying myself in paperwork, numbing the ache within me. Yet, despite my outward calm, I was tormented by memories of Kayla. Every familiar spot in our home became haunted. Our morning coffee rituals at the kitchen counter, the soft whispers shared beneath tangled sheets, even the mundane tasks like folding laundry together. I'd foolishly believed those moments were safe, eternal, but she'd tainted every last memory with betrayal. The only comfort I found was knowing that Kayla suffered. Logan kept me updated. Her friends had abandoned her, her reputation destroyed, her career in ruins. She'd lost everything. And yet, as the days wore on, satisfaction gave way to a deeper sadness. The damage I'd inflicted was justified, but revenge offered no solace. I had intended to hurt her, but now all I felt was loneliness. Then, unexpectedly, I received a message. Not from Logan, not from Kayla, but from Logan's former fiancée, Natalia. "Can we talk?" was all she wrote. Intrigued and wary, I agreed to meet her. When we sat across from each other in the quiet cafe, I saw pain reflected clearly in her dark eyes. She introduced herself gently, voice soft and composed. "I'm Elena," she began carefully. "I suppose we share something unpleasant." I nodded, offering a bitter smile. "Yeah, it seems we do." Elena hesitated, then exhaled softly. "Did hurting Kayla make you feel better?" I paused, considering the question deeply. "Not really," I confessed, voice low. "I wanted it to, but it didn't." Elena smiled sadly. "Logan and I were engaged, you know. Wedding planned, invitation sent. All destroyed overnight." Guilt gnawed at me unexpectedly. "I'm sorry," I murmured genuinely. "That wasn't my intention." She shook her head softly. "It was Logan's choice too. Kayla didn't force him, but she offered something he couldn't resist." My jaw tightened. "Power." Elena nodded bitterly. "Exactly." She knew exactly how to manipulate him. A heavy silence settled between us, but Elena's next words startled me. "Do you still love her?" My throat tightened painfully, the question piercing through defenses I'd carefully built. "I don't know." Elena's voice softened with understanding. "You still love the woman you thought she was." Her insight startled me. I'd never considered it that way before, but Elena was right. I mourned the illusion, the perfect Kayla I'd once loved deeply, not the woman who'd shattered our lives. Elena reached gently across the table, touching my hand lightly. "I understand, but you need to let go. Revenge is powerful, Damon, but forgiveness is stronger." I shook my head stubbornly. "How do you forgive someone who ripped your life apart?" "You don't forgive them for their sake," Elena replied calmly. "You forgive them for yours." Her words resonated deeply, lingering long after we parted. Yet forgiveness still felt distant, impossible. Kayla's betrayal had poisoned everything, tainting trust itself. But the conversation ignited something within me, a desire to move beyond vengeance, beyond bitterness. Days later, Kayla appeared once more at my doorstep, this time diminished, eyes hollow, skin pale. She had lost weight. Her confident glow faded entirely. "Damon," she began weakly, "please just hear me out." I stared silently, arms crossed defensively. "I have nothing left," she whispered brokenly. "You won. Isn't that enough?" My jaw tightened, but instead of anger, sadness filled me. "This was never about winning," I said quietly. "You destroyed us both." Kayla's eyes filled with tears, genuine regret surfacing for the first time. "I know. I ruined everything." Silence hung heavily between us, loaded with unspoken pain. She turned slowly, shoulders slumped. As she walked away, the weight of our shared destruction settled upon me. Revenge hadn't healed my wounds. It had only made them deeper. That night, sleep finally came, heavy and dreamless. When morning arrived, a new clarity awakened with me. Perhaps Elena was right. Perhaps forgiveness was the only path left. Months turned slowly into a year. My life gradually stabilized, rebuilt piece by piece. Kayla vanished from my everyday reality, existing only as an occasional, distant ache. I'd stopped tracking her downfall, stopped obsessing over revenge. Instead, I began focusing on healing, truly healing, beyond anger, beyond bitterness. My routine changed again. I took long walks, explored new hobbies, and eventually accepted invitations from friends I'd previously pushed away. Slowly, laughter returned. Life became bearable again, even enjoyable at times. One afternoon, a letter arrived unexpectedly, a neatly written envelope with familiar handwriting. It was Kayla's. My heart thumped unevenly as I opened it. "Damon, I know you might never forgive me, but I needed to tell you this. Losing you taught me the hardest lesson of all. My actions cost me everything: love, trust, and respect. I realize now what I threw away so carelessly. I destroyed something beautiful, and I'll carry that regret forever. I won't ask for forgiveness, but I hope you find happiness again. You deserve it. Kayla." Her letter brought unexpected relief, a final sense of closure. I folded the note carefully, breathing deeply, letting the past finally release its grip. It was time to truly move forward, not because she asked for forgiveness, but because holding on to bitterness was slowly poisoning me. A new chapter opened when, one evening at Elena's invitation, I attended a charity event. She greeted me warmly, smiling genuinely, radiant in a way she hadn't been when we first met. The awkwardness between us faded quickly, replaced by a shared understanding forged from common pain. Over time, Elena became a steady presence in my life, not as a lover, but as a friend who knew intimately the scars left behind by betrayal. Then, in a twist I hadn't anticipated, Logan reached out months later, humbled by his own journey. He'd lost everything, too: fiancé, reputation, career. Yet, he had gained clarity. Over coffee, we quietly acknowledged the mutual scars we carried. "I'm sorry for my part in hurting you, Damon," Logan admitted sincerely. "I was selfish, reckless." Kayla fed into it, but the choices were mine. I nodded quietly. "We all paid a price." His expression softened. "But we survived. I think we're stronger for it." We parted amicably, a strange camaraderie forged from shared wounds. Life continued, reshaped by lessons learned painfully but permanently. My routines became purposeful, focused entirely on healing. Even love found its way back, eventually, cautiously, with someone new. Not as a replacement for Kayla, but as proof that trust could be rebuilt, carefully and genuinely this time. The scars Kayla left remained, reminders of how deeply betrayal wounds, but also reminders that those wounds could heal, transforming into strength rather than bitterness. I learned that revenge, no matter how justified, only prolonged suffering. Redemption lay not in destroying another, but in forgiving oneself and moving forward. Years later, reflecting on everything, I realized the darkest days had led me here, to happiness I never imagined possible. Kayla had taught me the hardest lesson of all, that love without trust was doomed from the start. Betrayal had destroyed my world, but from those ruins, I'd built something stronger, something unbreakable. Forgiveness hadn't erased the scars, but it allowed me to reclaim control, finally granting me peace. In the end, revenge hadn't healed my wounds. Letting go did. I smiled gently, closing the album of memories, grateful at last for the painful journey that brought me here. I had survived the betrayal, the anger, the revenge. But most importantly, I had found myself again.